Our first invited speaker is Richard Straub. You'll see his bio, very eminent person. We're also joined by Cal. Ryan, welcome, Cal. So Richard is going to talk to us about management and innovation. So please give a warm welcome to Richard.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here. I couldn't make it last year. Last moment flew, but I'm even more happy to be able now to join this great effort. And I had the privilege yesterday already to be at the gala dinner, and it's really, for somebody who has been involved in the forming of this Open Innovation Group. I mean, I'm one of the founders, and I'm really extremely impressed what has come out of it. And I think the credit goes to Martin, and the credit goes to Broer, and I think it gets an enormous dynamic, which is really very, very impressive. So, you've seen what title I've chosen. I mean, I'm trying, when I'm making these presentations, two things. I've been with IBM for 32 years. I've used all the time PowerPoints. So you will be surprised, I almost use no PowerPoints, number one. Number two, I don't feel I succeed in having a presentation if I don't create at least one major cognitive dissonance in the audience, right? So let's see. We can measure it. We can measure it later. But that are some of the objectives besides the content-related objectives I have in mind. Now, when I say addressing the innovation crisis, who would agree that there is an innovation crisis at all? Aren't we in the age of great innovation? So raise your hands if you agree, but don't just do it because if you are really convinced. Who thinks we have an innovation crisis in all this time with wonderful things happening? So I try to see, well, there's still a few, because otherwise I would have asked the question, maybe I choose the wrong theme, right? But I have some support already. I'll try to convince the others that in fact there is something you might call innovation crisis. Now, I will not start talking about open innovation. I've been, as I said, involved all along, going back to the Hippel ideas, right, on user-driven innovation, forward to the new ideas of Henry Chesbrough and so on. I would like to place open innovation again in the context of the overall issue of innovation. Open innovation doesn't stand by itself, right? It's part of a large spectrum in the context of a broader innovation system or innovation activities in companies or in economy. Open innovation as such is one of the great, what I would call one of the great management innovations that came up during the last years, right? It's a way how you look at innovation, how you manage innovation, but it's part of innovation. So I don't look at it in isolation. This is why I would also like to make this bigger, to place it in this bigger context of the innovation crisis, which I couldn't make just for open innovation alone. When we talk about innovation, we are really at the heart of the functioning of the economic system. And you might say of capitalism itself. Because the innovation capacity determines the ability for the economy and for society to regenerate itself, which is vital. If we cannot regenerate, the only alternative is decay. So I don't need to mention Schumpeter, but Schumpeter was very much on this subject. He said, really in the center of the capitalist and of the market society is, of course, the entrepreneur. And the term of creative destructions is today pervasively used. One of the issues may be that destruction has a bit of a negative implication. So maybe we could find some new ways to call it creative regeneration. It's really about regeneration and not maybe so much about destruction. So Schumpeter, since we have a friend at The Economist, Adrian Woodridge, who is writing the Schumpeter column, maybe we can win him over to talk about creative regeneration in the future. So, what is this regeneration all about? It's about human needs, it's about new opportunities, it's about activity, it's about involving humans by giving them meaningful tasks, jobs, however you may call it, a purpose, right? So it's not only a business imperative, it is a business imperative, of course, but not only, but it's an imperative for society. Our future and the future of the coming generations is at stake when we talk about innovation. So I like to place it not as an economic debate and not just a debate of business interest, but it's a debate about society and it's a debate about our future. Innovation should and can give us the solutions for the new challenges we are facing. And we have enough challenges. I don't want to repeat the whole list, but just think about some of the very big challenges. Unemployment, youth unemployment. When we talk about a purposeful life, what do you do with youth unemployment? So it's a terrible problem. The whole issue that we see our economy coming to a point where more and more people talking about the danger of a secular stagnation, which has tremendous impact on all other things like employment. I mean, Larry Summers used this term even recently. The state, where has the state moved? Where has it evolved? It has overstretched itself. It has a huge issue in efficiency, in effectiveness. The demographics, especially in the developed countries, are a new type of challenge, which has, of course, great opportunities when we come to innovation. And so on. I could go on for a long list. I think the key question is this something we are just subject to? We are the victims in a way, and these are like huge external waves where nobody can do much about it, and we just need to see, to find ways to survive? Or is it something where significant components are man-made and also solutions to these bigger challenges can be man-made? So I would like to come at this point to one of the greatest management thinkers of our time currently. I would consider him, when I think about Peter Drucker, I would consider Clay Christensen coming very close to a let's say, towering personality like Peter Drucker. So Clay Christensen is well known for everybody who deals with innovation, so I'm sure it tells you something. And Clay Christensen has published an article just recently in Harvard Business Review. Who has seen the article, The Capitalist's Dilemma? So if you have not, good, so I'm always happy I can tell you something new. Okay, so but I will recommend to read the article. It's really a great piece. So Clay Christensen has exactly looked at this issue and has said, what about management? Is it economics? Is it the abstractions of economics? Or is it real people? Is it management? Is it in the sphere of how we manage companies and what the rules are for managing companies? And here's what his conclusions are, what he shows in his article. He talks about three types of, and I will make it very short, so I cannot try to sort of bring it all to you like this. So he talks about three types of innovation. He says there is innovation which he would call sustaining, which is more or less keeping things going. A new car model, for example, right? Which addresses a similar clientele, but you can keep your market share, maybe slightly increase it, but it doesn't change fundamentally things. So that means it keeps the jobs also in place that you have in a given economy. That's sustaining. innovation. Then he talks about efficiency innovation. And I think that everybody is well aware what it means, especially in the light of technology. We see more and more efficiency innovation. Efficiency innovation is where most people say, well, we do more with less, right? The issue that people feel more and more often is that it's also less jobs. So efficiency innovation, of course, is necessary to be competitive, but it has the danger of reducing employment, reducing jobs. And then he talks about empowering innovation, about innovation creating new markets. And I realized with great interest that Clay has changed his terminology a bit. He didn't talk so much about disruptive innovation, which is also a term which has not only positive connotations. And when I say Clay Christensen, he is one of the great speakers we will have in Vienna, by the way, in the Drucker Forum. I think I'm allowed to do this type of short ad, but we will have the discussion with him directly, so he has been kind enough to join us in November in Vienna. So he's talking about this empowering market and market-creating innovation. And what he's saying essentially is that currently companies are putting much more focus on efficiency innovation than on empowering innovation. And even though that efficiency innovation liberates capital, because when you are better in the supply chain, when you are better in your whole management of your stock of merchandise, of course you free up capital. What do you do with the capital? You reinvest it in efficiency innovation. And what does this do to your company? You get very efficient, but you have less and less jobs, unless you put money also into empowering innovation, in creating new markets. The issue is, this has much higher risks than efficiency innovation. Efficiency innovations, the boards love it, the shareholders get their quarterly dividends and are happy. The empowering innovation, market-creating innovation, is longer term, has more risks, and doesn't show so well in the short-term financial measurements. Now, what is the situation in corporations today? And when I say in corporations, there are, of course, exceptions, but I talk about patterns. And I think Martin mentioned this point about patterns. Corporations sit on two piles. You know what these two piles are? Two piles. Guess, one pile is money, cash. Cash pile of more than 2 trillion. More than 2 trillion. Enormous cash pile. But there's a second pile which is not so well known by many, but it's real. Yeah, does anybody know which pile? It's a debt pile, because they took on a lot of debt. They took on debt, and it's overall in the range of 9 trillion. 9 trillion worldwide. These are real numbers. Why did they take on this debt? Why do they have the cash pile? To invest it in innovation? To invest it in empowering market-creating innovation? I'm afraid not. What are they doing with it, mainly? And the corporate representatives, okay, their corporations is always excluded. So I'm talking about the others, right? So I'm coming from a corporation, you know that. I was with IBM for 32 years. But what are they doing with it, mainly? Apart from investing, of course. They are buying back stock, share, right? Share buyback is the huge program in almost all major corporations to keep the share price up, to move it up. So we have a problem there. We have a problem. There's a problem, of course, in the whole system, which goes much deeper than, specific measures. It's a systemic problem. It's the tyranny of the market. It's short-termism, which is something which we cannot just wish away. It's there, but it's deeply in the system. When people like Dominic Barton from McKinsey write a second article in Harvard Business Review, I think it was in December, about short-termism and the terrible consequences it has, he knows what he's talking about. And especially, he knows what he's talking about when he says, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. So we have a problem. Yeah, we have a real problem. And it translates in many ways. It translates also in the way how people feel in companies. It's the question, why, how can it be that according to the Gallup research, worldwide survey, workplace survey, only 13% of the population working in companies these days are fully engaged. They give more than they are expected to give, only 13%. There is something badly wrong. So what I would like to connect with this is the point about we have to confront reality. Whenever we talk about really good and great things that are happening, let's keep in mind the big picture. And I would like to see this point about innovation crisis, which I firmly believe we have. We are not growing. Martin made the point about growth. Innovation is about growth, right? If we don't innovate, we won't achieve growth. So it's a huge crisis if we don't change things as they are currently moving. So I want to see that as a wake-up call and as a call for reconsidering priorities. And that's very strong at the European level, at the policy level of the member states, but also for the individual companies, as we just saw, and for the elites, for the leadership elites. And we have these elites, and they fail us. So there is something to think about. Without trying to trace all the different measures that could be taken, I just wanted to highlight a few directions which we are talking about, but which must be taken more seriously. And the European Commission is represented here, and I want to be rather not politically correct. And I'm saying, if the European Commission talks about entrepreneurship, there is talk, but there is by far not enough action. If you look, for example, at the field of entrepreneurship. If the European Commission talks about innovation, it's great and it's good, and there are things moving, but our legacy is research and development. And most of the funding is going in this field and not in the area of how do we translate this into value. And this is where we need more and more focus if we want to address this innovation crisis. So we are in a world today where people are connected, where people are, let's say, interrelating in a completely new way, where we can see the creativity which is emerging from all these great connections and linkages. So it's a question of how can we liberate all this great energy, which is to some degree buried in organizations. It's really virtually buried in organizations, and it cannot come to the surface because also the way we organize or we manage organization is far from good. Yeah, it's far from good. We need to make fundamental changes. If we succeed only to get some of this creativity and motivation out at the surface, we would have a completely different picture for innovation. And technology, of course, is a great game changer. And this is the last point I would like to make. I think technology gives a lot of hope, but there is also a lot of concern around technology. And the concern lies in the way how we, human beings, look at technology. We have become, in our arguments, in our way of speaking and thinking about technology, almost totally technology-centric. Everything is coming through, it's now big data. And I'm not against big data, it's great, but that's not the solution of the world's problem. It's human beings. It's the question, how do you use technology to enhance what a human being is? Not trying to go into transhumanism as some of the Silicon Valley gurus do and tell us about singularity, that there will only be machines telling us in the future what to do. I mean, this is nonsense. We are human beings. It's about us. It's about how technology can support us, how we can combine the human spirit with the force of technology. And I think that's something we have to change, and we have to at least to rethink. And there are many ways to do that. And open innovation, this idea of bringing people together, of connecting people, of having new processes which are in a way democratic, which are open, which involve, which include others, have open spaces as they are coming up more and more, where different disciplines are coming together. By the way, Vienna already 100 years ago had great open spaces for innovation. You know what they were in Vienna? The coffee house. because you had all different disciplines coming together, and the salon. But now we have it worldwide. We have the worldwide coffee house, and we have the worldwide salon. So we can do a lot to improve the situation and to find new ways, and I think open innovation has a lot to contribute and to show the way how we can achieve this liberation of energy, this liberation of creativity that we need so badly, and not stick with symptom cures as we currently do too much. So this is the ad that I'm allowed to do. This will be further discussed in the Drucker Forum. It's a non-profit, so this is why I can advertise it. Nobody makes money on this. We try to fund it, of course. Great transformation, and this takes the point. We have reached a point. Either we transform for the good, or we go into a situation, in a dangerous situation of decline. I think that's really the seriousness. And here you see a few of the friends who will be speaking, and of course, Clay Christensen and Pankaj Gemawat and Gary Hamel and Harvard Business Review is deeply involved with Adi Ignatius, with its editor-in-chief, or from Asia. We have Vineet Nayar, who is one of the great management thinkers, and so on. Martin Wolf, the economist. So we want the economists and the management thinkers to come together. And here are two final quotes. I have to end with Drucker. He said, it's managers and management who are the central resource, and they are decisive for society, and it makes a difference. It's sort of a life-giving force, and what managers do is of public interest, obviously. And the other point is, much will depend in the 21st century on our progress in non-technological innovation, with deep changes in how companies operate and how society functions. So that was what I tried to talk about. We're talking about people supported by technology, but it's really people. It's the people who make the difference. So, thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to a very exciting day.